ADB engages with civil society organizations, or CSOs, in addressing poverty and other development challenges across Asia and the Pacific. Because of CSO's local presence and deep understanding of the conditions and needs of poor communities, they have an essential role in helping ADB listen to the voice of the vulnerable in its programs. Let's take a look at the shared history of ADB and civil society as we celebrate 20 years of the NGO and Civil Society Center, or NGOC. ADB traces its history of cooperation with CSOs back to the 1980s to provide context and engage with communities during project preparation. As ADB and NGO cooperation expanded through the years, ADB crafted its policy paper in 1987. Many other CSOs with which ADB collaborates has time and again demonstrated the wisdom of working more closely with CSOs who have injected crucial knowledge and tools into ADB operations over the years. Addressing rural poverty and creating jobs for women were among the goals of ADB's first direct funding support for NGOs, as implemented in projects starting in 1988. Cooperating with NGOs strengthens the effectiveness, sustainability, and quality of its operations. This is emphasized through the bank's policy on cooperation between ADB and non-government organizations in 1998. The 20 years of direct collaboration with civil society was set in motion when ADB President Tadao Chino reached out to NGO delegates during the 34th ADB annual meeting of the Board of Governors in 2001. Our first order of business was to prepare a strategy for guiding ADB-CSO cooperation. Titled ADB Government NGO Cooperation, a Framework for Action 2003 to 2005, the strategy contained 5 overarching categories of recommendations and 24 actions to implement them. Over 500 representatives from CSOs, governments, the private sector, and ADB staff were involved in the strategy's preparation. So, in essence, the strategy had hundreds of authors. It was a pretty impressive undertaking.
Supporting the right of people to request and receive information about ADB's activities is an important goal of ADB's public communication policies approved in 2005. Now superseded by the 2018 Access to Information Policy. Promoting transparency and providing access to information created more opportunities for CSOs to meaningfully discuss projects and policy concerns with ADB. Throughout the 2000s, ADB's work with civil society continued to grow. Recognizing their important role in pursuing ADB Strategy 2020, alongside key policy reforms in the institution's safeguard policy. Because youth is a large demographic in Asia and the Pacific, and youth-led organizations are important members of civil society, ADB started the youth initiative now called Youth for Asia, YFA, in 2013 to incorporate the voices of young people in contributing effectively to development. In 2016, the NGOC reviewed the state of ADB-CSO cooperation and the changing roles of CSOs in response to regional and global trends and the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. In 2018, ADB approved its Strategy 2030. This long-term corporate strategy sets out how ADB can further explore grassroots participatory approaches and to increase CSO involvement in the design and implementation of ADB-supported projects and in the formulation and review of its institutional policies. Faced with the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, ADB responded by committing over $29 billion in pandemic response to its member countries. One of these initiatives is the project mitigating the impact of COVID-19 through community-led interventions, which currently supports 10 CSOs in 7 developing member countries in social protection and livelihood programs for the most vulnerable communities affected by the pandemic. In 2020, the ADB updated its Corporate Results Framework Indicator, which accounts for meaningful CSO engagements in ADB finance sovereign projects. In 2021, ADB published its comprehensive guide for staff, officials of developing member countries, and civil society on how to collaborate with CSOs in ADB finance projects. Looking ahead, ADB will continue to broaden and deepen our engagement with civil society in both our operations and policy work. We believe that to build an inclusive, resilient, and sustainable Asia and the Pacific, citizens and civil society must play a role to build and develop their country and to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals.